Welcome to a little behind the scenes of our Lights on the Lane show that we have here between the two homes. We'll kind of show off some of the things that make our display a little unique compared to some of the others, and also idea sharing across the industry, because it's always good to share knowledge and learn from each other as well. So we'll start here at this house with the main driver, or the main board. So all of our components, other than the computer which drives everything, are actually outside of the house. So we've got everything in kind of nice weather boxes. In this case, it's right here. So inside this guy, we run an F48 controller as the main driver, and that's really the only board we have as the only driver board for the entire show. Otherwise, then we just have distribution boards coming off this F48, coming out through Ethernet cable ports. That then come out and run through both houses, one up here up to the roof going up, and then two going over to the other house for both parts, upper and lower parts of that house as well. But underneath this one, it's actually got two layers underneath here. It's kind of hard to see, but as you can see here, they got the power supply there that actually provides the power for pretty much most of the components inside this box. Other than we do have this little power supply here that actually drives just the F48 controller, and then we also underneath here we've got the data board, distribution board coming off of the F48 for just in here. That's what this cable is right here. Then we got power distribution as well to drive every 100 pixels within our light show. Is what the requirements are. Also unique within this box, we've actually got a thermometer here that actually monitors the temperature inside this box, because this is a weather-tight seal inside this box. So this thermometer will actually then kick on these fans over here. We've got an intake and an outtake that allow the box to circulate air, so that way we get some fresh air in there and it keeps it nice and cool. So that is that box. So on the upper part of the house, we've got two boxes up there on the roof, right up over there. That provides one's data and power as well coming out of one, and then the other one's just additional power injection that we need. As I mentioned, we have to basically inject power about every 100 pixels or so. Overall brightness of the house, or overall brightness of the show, is about 75% what we do. We can go brighter, but 75 provides a really good balance between really brights and just overall amount of color that we want to see in the show. So, moving over around here to the upper part of the house. So, the way we kind of hold up the elements, or these props on the brick wall, actually, we've just got little concrete anchors that are stuck in the mortar, and then we use 25-pound fishing line, several different anchor points, and so far with some of the high winds we've had this fall, they've worked out really well. We have not had to do any sort of repairs on any of the elements that we have hanging. Then moving down here to the trees, this is a common question we do get. As you can see, these trees are not plastic. They are actually made entirely a little differently. Our neighbors actually came up with this idea. It's kind of really cool. If we get a little closer look, it's actually garland, and then underneath this garland, it's actually the 3-foot tall tomato cages, inverted, of course, as you can see here, and then wrapped in chicken wire. It was kind of ingenious. To kind of give it a solid base, and then they wrapped the whole thing in multiple strands of garland, and then we just have the lights wrapped around in a spiral from top to bottom, and then the cables just run through the middle of the prop, and so as you can see, you really don't see any cables running between the props, so we've had them all strategically hidden just to make it look very aesthetically pleasing, which is kind of what we try to do, especially for the homes during the day. We didn't want a lot of props to just catch your eye. We wanted the homes to look very nice with the holiday decorations, because as you can see, it's not just the show props that we have. We've got some nice garland that's strung between the homes too, and of course our front tree here that kind of does a little bit of a block of the show, but fortunately doesn't obscure the show too much when folks are driving by. So all of our lights here are actually mounted on 1-inch, or is it 3/4, I forget, PVC pipe, but then we just use zip ties here in between on both sides of the light to help hold them steady. and stick. And then we've got little UV resistant pipe holders that are actually screwed in the wood, or in the case of the windows, they're actually, we use some Quad Max, which is really good high-grade silicone to hold the lights in place around the windows, because we don't actually drill screws into the window frames themselves. So, but yeah, so all the lights are basically in strips, so it makes it really easy to store in one big bundle of lights, and then it's really easy to just slap them up from year to year. So, makes it a lot easier to go up. So coming back up here, looking up here underneath the porch, we have the FM transmitter right up here. Hopefully you can see that okay. Kind of to see that. But this is an FM transmitter that just broadcasts on the frequency we have, or the FM station that works best here in this area. So nice little transmitter there. The way we get the audio to it is we actually run the cables, and it actually comes from inside the house that we have run from the computer in the basement that drives the entire show, and actually then comes right up and out from here. The data signal I forgot to mention that we actually have coming in here from that same computer in the basement actually comes up here, and then it actually, we have a lot of Ethernet run throughout the house, but it comes up there through, there's a little hole that runs up through some access points and on down through our home network that we have established within the house. So as I mentioned, coming off of that main box, we have data cables that run up to the upper part of the house up there, and then also we have two cables that run to the other house crossed over there, past one of our other power injection boxes, since we, this particular box here only provides power, no data. So just because I mentioned, we got to drive power in about every 100 pixels. But continuing on, just through hiding all these cables nice and conspicuously. Here happens to be one running across underneath the cables, or underneath the rocks, crossed out of the way, so our neighbor can park his vehicles in the garage, right up and around, and into that box right there. So looking at this box a little bit more, a little closer look. So inside this box here, we have the 12-volt power supply. This runs 30. This is able to provide up to 30 amps DC. Which comes out to about, by the time we add everything up, at about the 75% brightness mark of the lights we use. It's about, we can get about 8 strands or 8 injection points total, including the number of power to drive the initial data connections anyway. So here on the left side is the expansion board that we actually have coming from that main F48 board. So this is not Ethernet, it's the WS2811 signal that comes from the main board into this board here. And then coming off of this board here, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 different strands coming off of this board that actually drives the entire lower part of this particular house. And then additionally, for the amount of power we need, as you can see here, we've got 4 additional power injection cables coming out of this box as well that provides the necessary power to provide the necessary brightness that you see in the show. So, and then from this box, we also have this other box over here. Similar setup, where instead of, this box only provides data, this box only provides power, no data. As you can see, there is no data expansion board coming off of here, no Ethernet cable coming off of that. We just have the 12-volt power supply, and then in this case we happen to have, looks like 6. We have 6 power injection ports that actually then feed various power injection elements in this particular part of the house. So kind of taking a little bit closer look at this house, we've got 2 boxes up there on the roof. We've got one in the corner right up over here. That's the main data box for the upper part of the house. Everything you see on the top part of the house all gets driven from that box up there, and that cable runs from over there up and around and into that box. This box right over here is actually just a a power injection box that simply just provides an additional power where needed. But as you can see, we got all the cables very nicely tucked away up in the eaves to kind of hide it, and it looks really nice here during the daytime, especially with the trees here. And as you can see, we've got 6 trees at this house, and there are actually 7 trees at the other house just because we wanted the spacing, just the way the spacing worked out. So, and then you can see you really can't even see any of the cables. Everything's nice and clean, just to try to make things look very nice during the daytime. So that's a wrap here for a little quick behind the scenes of our show here at Lights on the Lane. If you guys are able to come check it out, it is definitely worth it in person. Like I said, we have shows every day, 5:30 to 10 p.m. on the weekends, and then during the weekdays we try to back that off to 9 o'clock just to let the neighborhood be a little quieter here during the week. So anyway, hope you guys are all have a great happy holidays, and hopefully you guys can come see the show. Thanks again.